On in. It is All-Star time, guys. The season has already flown by to the point that we are at the All-Star Game, and we're going to try out something new. Today is the first ever Locked On MLB Hangout, in which we're all just going to talk some ball. We're going to watch this game. We're going to talk a little bit of baseball. We've got a lot of great storylines that have developed here over the last couple of weeks, and that is why, first and foremost, I wanted to start with Ty. And actually, Ethan, I'm going to throw you back in the bullpen because we got Bryce in here. We're going to get us a little Locked On NL West talk going.
Yes.
And we got to start off with Ty because, oh my gosh, the Seattle Mariners, I thought preseason were going to be a very awesome team to watch. And then they kind of got out of the gates a little rough, let's say. But coming into the All-Star break, I think there's only one other team in baseball that's been as hot or hotter or something like that. What is your take? What is the real Mariners? Will the real Mariners step up?
I think we're starting to see more of what we were hoping to see during the preseason. You know, it got off to a shaky start. Some guys not performing as well as you would hope. Robbie Ray, Jesse Winker, etc. Injuries happen. Kyle Lewis, Mitch Haniger, a bunch of guys got hurt, and that really depleted the roster as well. But over the, and also I need to add that they had an incredibly difficult schedule that they were facing, especially in the month of May. It was brutal. They were facing the Mets, they were facing the Blue Jays, they were facing the Astros. They just couldn't get a break. And now they've kind of gotten a little bit of a break here because they've basically gotten all of their difficult series out of the way in the first couple of months of the season. And so, yeah, they've been playing better. Guys like Winker and Ray have started to perform at a level that you would like to see them perform at. Jesse Winker's started to figure out some things. Robbie Ray has been one of the best pitchers in baseball for the last month. That's been huge. Eugenio Suarez has still been a massive contributor. And, not, to gloss over the big story here. Julio Rodriguez has been a superstar for the last 2.5 months. So that kind of helps for sure. And, in April he was struggling, and I don't know if you guys have seen, but in the month of April, he struck out a lot looking on pitches that were not exactly strikes. And it was kind of a common theme for him. But he got his first home run on May 1st, and he's been dynamite since then. He's been incredible. I mean, we saw how much of a star he is last night. I think a lot of people got introduced to him, and he's been incredible. And Ty France has been incredible. This whole team is starting to click. They're having a lot of fun. The addition of Carlos Santana has been great for the clubhouse, and just great in general for the roster as a whole. It just lengthens that lineup, and they've been cruising.
I am in my feels about Eugenio Suarez and the way that he's played. I was really hoping for a bounce back in a Reds uniform, but he has certainly bounced back down there or up there in Seattle. Not down there. It's not down for anybody.
Over yonder.
Over yonder. Yeah.
Well, technically, if you're in Canada or Alaska, it's down there. So, we don't want to alienate our Alaskan friends and followers. But
a lot of Alaskan Locked On Rangers fans, I'm sure.
I was gonna say, kind of a hell freezing over kind of theme there. I'm joking. I love you, Bryce. You're all. Hey. The Mariners, Ty, for all intents and purposes, were the team that I thought that the Astros would be fighting with every step of the way. And when they went backwards, the Mariners, and they just kind of just like faded out, I was like, okay, what's the Angels? And the Angels faded. I was like, guys, we were supposed to have this like really competitive American League West. And I was kind of like, hey, cool, my team's in a competitive division. And the Mariners have stepped up, and 7 of the next 10 games for the Houston Astros are against the Seattle Mariners. And from what I hear, y'all's game Friday night against us is sold out. And so that's huge. This will have a playoff atmosphere. You guys are right there where I thought y'all were going to be. I didn't know that there would be much competition outside of that second spot. But, the Mariners, the Rangers have gotten hot at times. Corey Seager picked up, got some honors. He was at the home run derby, things like that. You want to see a competitive division. You want to see a division where everybody kind of has a chance. But Julio Rodriguez, I want Jeremy Pena to win the Rookie of the Year, and I thought he was going to. And then Julio Rodriguez just said, hey, guys, by the way, I'm here, and we got to deal with that guy for the next 6 years, or at least. I'm so not happy about that.
Yeah, I'm super not happy because the Astros are good and they also have Jeremy Pena, and I'm like, stop it, stop. It's wild that the 4-game series between Seattle and Texas got just canceled. It just didn't happen because I went on vacation, so therefore it did not happen. I bet that would have been really entertaining if that did happen, but it's a shame that it just straight up did not exist.
Hey, at least you have Kumar, Bryce. You have Kumar.
Yep. Kumar and Leiter.
Yeah, more like Kumar and Brock Porter. That is the bell that I'm ringing for the next forever. I have been talked off the ledge. I still would have rather had Tamar Johnson or Elijah Green, but I get it. And I was talking with Taylor Blake Ward, former Locked On Angels host. Shout out to the man, and shout out to the current Locked On Angels boys, who I believe are both
John
of them there.
John is at the game.
I know
I don't
John
think
is
Mike
there.
is. I don't think Mike is, but John is at the game today, so jealous of him.
But yeah, Taylor, who is Mr. Draft Guru aficionado, was he was with me he was depressed for me on Sunday night of why are they getting Rocker? And then after the selection of Brock Porter, he's like, y'all got 2 first-round talents without a second or a third-round pick. So that is a good draft. And I'm like, yeah, but I wanted it. So I'm still going to be a little, moany and complainy. But my heart is genuinely swelling for the Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter reunion. I am genuinely very happy. And I think both those guys are very sincerely good friends and super, super happy about this. So I can't hate too much, just a little bit, but not too much.
Well, I'm a sucker for pitching, so I love what's going on down there.
I don't trust pitching prospects, though.
No, for sure. But, you got all the fancy, shiny toys, so I like it. I'm down. Kind of, very Marlins-esque. I love everything that the Marlins have going down there with their pitching.
It's like Marlins, but if you actually spent money.
Yeah.
Well, when they got Rocker third, and then I heard that he didn't release his medicals, and when you start getting into the ins and the outs of Major League Draft, sometimes these teams will go to a player and say, hey, for the next month, I need you to sandbag that spin rate. I need you to do – there is some chess maneuvering going on, and they didn't have to go all in with Kumar Rocker, and they didn't – they got him, I don't want to say on the cheap, but they were able to spend money. Well,
they got $2 million bucks off.
2.5 mil below slot bonus.
Okay.
I will give you that.
Okay, so I didn't know the exact number. That's why I was saying that. But yeah, a smart move, and I remember your initial reaction, and my initial reaction was like, dude, y'all are still taking L's. What is going on? You were so mad. And then when I started talking to Lindsay, when I started talking to my guy that I talked to, a good friend of mine who knows the minors in and out, he was like, he goes, they're probably doing a lot smarter things than you realize. But there's a lot of stuff we don't see.
I want to give the other Ohio Jeff some credit because when he was talking me off the ledge, Mr. Locked On Guardians, who has been covering the draft for I believe eons at this point. But one of the names that he threw out of all right, there's a reason why they're doing this. It's not just because they're punting on number 3 overall. Brock Porter was literally one of the names, one of 2 or 3 names that he pointed out. He's like, I think they're going to go for this guy, and it's gonna, if they do get him, then it's going to end up being a very nice draft, and it's looking like it is.
Yeah, it's been solid, and I'm curious because he won the home run derby last night, and there's been a lot of rumors linking him to teams in the AL West, whether you're talking about the Mariners, Astros, or Rangers. Is Juan Soto going to be playing in the AL West?
Well,
No.
Here's the thing. Okay.
Not for the Mariners. I'll say that right now.
Right. Well, we wouldn't even pay Jose. We wouldn't even pay Carlos Correa, George Springer, any of those guys. So, we got Yordan Alvarez on a very bargain deal, which was nice. If he goes to the Angels, he will hit 2 home runs Mike Trout will hit a home run in a game. Shohei Ohtani will throw a one-hitter, and they will lose 5-2. The Angels will still continue to find ways to tank the most talent in baseball. I mean, but Ohtani, Ohtani, I got Ohtani on the brain. Soto, why not send him to New York Mets? I mean, gosh, they already spend money on everything else like drunken sailors, you know?
Well, like for me, I think there is a possibility that the Rangers go like if he hits free agency. I don't think the Rangers trade for him. I don't think there's any scenario where the Rangers mortgage like their entire future, because that's what any team would do, and that's why these trades like the Mookie Betts trade, like they just don't happen. And when they do, when they come in, everyone's like, this is such a ridiculous underpay. Like Mookie Betts is one of the top 5 players in baseball, and you got like maybe 2 top 100 overall prospects for him, and that's like a complete underpay. But like if he does hit free agency, obviously I think he's a Boris guy, right? Scott Boras? Yeah, and
Yes.
the Rangers obviously have a very good relationship with Scott Boras right now after paying 2 of his clients $500 million in about a 2-day span. So, like, but that's the only scenario where I see Soto playing for the Rangers, which even that is, like, me completely, like, falling into my wildest dreams, besides Joey Gallo coming back.
I find it intriguing because whenever the report came out, like, oh, hey, he's up for trade, people are gonna be able to acquire him. I'm like, how? You're going to have to send just a ton, like your entire farm system, because the Nationals are gonna want a Juan Soto back, and they're not going to get him. And I tell you what, before we continue on this topic here for a moment, we had this really awesome graphic. We were gonna keep it to 4 people. The graphic ended up being a little bit off, so chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos!
Chaos.
Guys, it is good to see it. We're talking AL West, and I know that Ethan locked on Pirates, and you joined me with Locked On Reds in the NL Central, where neither of our teams are trying to compete for anything this year. So it's fun to talk about other divisions that are competitive. Sully, what's your take on, is the Mariners that we've seen these last 2 weeks the real Mariners?
Sully, you're
Oh, no.
muted.
Can't hear you.
Can't
How
hear
about
you.
now? How about
There we
now?
go.
Good now.
There we go.
Excuse me. I have a little bit of a cough. I tested negative. I think this is a
Let's
market correction.
go.
I think this is a market correction. I think that this is a wild market correction. But I picked the Mariners to win the division, and I thought for sure
Same.
this was a playoff team. And they start off so badly that I was making noise about replacing Scott Service with Joe Madden at one point. And it, you know, it kind of reminds me of when the 1988 Red Sox just stumbled out of the gate, and they were barely at 500 at the All-Star break. And then they fired John McNamara. They very famously had Morgan's Magic, where they went on a wild winning streak and wound up winning the division. And that also felt like a market correction. So I think Julio Rodriguez's arrival and his blossoming, just by complete coincidence, was right around the time they started playing really well. And also the fact that Robbie Ray, who had a dreadful May and had a fantastic June and July, I think that when you insert an MVP candidate into your lineup, and you basically trade garbage Robbie Ray for Cy Young contender Robbie Ray, that's when things can turn around. I absolutely think this is a playoff team, especially when you look at how the Red Sox are coming back to earth, and I don't see a wild card team coming out of the Central.
No, that's very evident to me as well. I wonder, though, because all of this just being put together, and as the game is getting ready to go on, they're showing Shohei Ohtani highlights. Like, we don't have our Angels guys in because John has, like we said, he has the fortune of being at the ballpark today to watch the game. But from an outsider's perspective, are they ever going to add to Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani to the point that they are a playoff contender?
They're not
No.
able to. They don't have the
This
pieces.
is where
for
I
it.
want to see
You know,
it.
there was
This
like
is what I want to see.
there was
Go
that
ahead,
3
Mike.
week there was that 3 week stretch, because I remember like we didn't have the Angels guys in yet when we did our AL West preview, and literally all of us were just spent the entire time just trouncing on the Angels, just absolutely clowning on them. And for the first like month and a half, I was like, do we owe them an apology? And then like 3 weeks later, like, no, absolutely no apology necessary. Every single joke was not a joke. It was just completely accurate, saying the Angels will never figure it out. And like Shohei Ohtani is probably going to leave them, and it's just going to be Mike Trout yet again, all by himself, hitting dingers to no one.
They were a playoff team a month and a half ago, and now they are close. They are closer to the bottom of the AL standings than they are to the third wild card. They have done everything. They've opened every door to get Mike Trout to play in October. During COVID, there were more teams that were playoff teams than not playoff teams in the COVID season.
Well,
and this year's had, we'll add another team. And so you have to, I mean, there's going to be a low 80-win team making the playoffs at one point. And when you consider they have the MVP and Mike Trout on the team, and they can't even put a mediocre product around them, this is all management. And they've had him for over a decade. It's not like Mike Trout's a rookie. You know, this is his 10th full season with him.
Yeah, that's crazy. One thing I want to go back to with the Soto thing. I want Soto to get traded to the Angels just so Soto, Ohtani, and Trout have a 20 WAR plus combined and still go like 75 and 87.
Yep.
I think it would be the greatest thing ever to happen in sports. And honestly, the whole thing with the Trout and Ohtani thing that I find hilarious, being the host of Locked On Pirates, we have the same record as they do, and we don't have the MVP and Mike Trout on our team. So,
well, I don't know. O'Neal Cruz is something special. I don't know if he's quite Mike Trout, but he's very fun to watch. 4
strikeouts and an RBI single is special, apparently.
Hey,
hey, wait a minute.
6'7" man playing short.
You were begging for O'Neal to come up. I don't want to hear this nonsense from you that all of a sudden.
Thank you, Sully. Thank you.
Oh, no. So, Sully, you know what's great is he's batting like 220 right now, and somebody came out with a story about O'Neal Cruz getting sent back down to AAA. They need to send him back. And I said, 2 months ago, everybody was like ready to burn PNC Park to the ground if O'Neal Cruz was not on this team. He also has broken 4 StatCast records in a month and a half. I don't care if he's batting 220. Let him figure it out and learn. By the way, Jeff being our host can go ahead and say the All-Star game is about to start with Kershaw and Ohtani going at each other to kick the game off.
My dad and also Shohei Ohtani pitching against each other. Shout out to my dad, Clayton Kershaw.
By the way, I have a rule that we have to adopt for the All-Star team, which is the starting pitchers have to face all 9 of the other starting players. I don't want this. He threw a first inning 1, 2, 3, then he hits the showers. The whole idea of you're the starting pitcher of the All-Star game is you're the best pitcher facing the best hitters. And if we go like, okay, 1, 2, 3 inning, and then, okay, how's he going to do against the next punch? Oh, wait, he's already in street clothes. And, you know, I hate the fact that, like, you know, Trout's not playing in this one, but, like, if he's healthy, there will never be a walk-off home run by Mike Trout in the All-Star game because he'll be removed in the 3rd inning. You know, I'd like to see when the game's on the line, the elite players up there.
Well, we got that a couple years ago. We got a Joey Gallo game-winning home run, who's obviously the best player. You know, that's what really matters. By the way, speaking of O'Neal Cruz hitting 220 and doing amazing things and people not appreciating it because all they look at is batting average, welcome to my life for the last 10 years with Joey Gallo. Welcome literally my entire life. Oh, the guy's hitting 220. Yeah, he's got 40 bombs and an on base of 380 and a Gold Glove and like 20 stolen bases. Oh, but he sucks.
Dude, even talking about Juan Soto right now, he's hitting like 240 or something, which isn't.
Yeah, he's having a down year.
But he's getting on base at like a 410 clip.
He's on base with a 410 clip and leads the entire league in walks. So I think
it's like, please, people, please get into the 21st century with on-base percentage. It's one more stat. Just look at that one before you go nuclear.
Or just look at OPS. If his OPS is above a 700, I think he's fine.
That's asking for too much. Okay, I'm literally just asking for on-base as opposed to batting average. Let's once we get to 2050, then maybe we get to the casual fan OPS. But I'm not holding my breath.
Ooh, Shohei hit on Kershaw
with
already.
A single to start us off. Yeah.
Are we still doing Locked On in 2050?
I reckon.
By then we'll all have 16,000 subscribers at least.
Sure
What if we're
hope so. I
doing
tell you
locked
this,
up?
though,
Wait,
when-
you said 2015, so we like 7 years ago.
5-0.
50,
Oh, 2050. Okay.
5-0. Yeah. No, I look.
Wow.
I feel your pain, Joey Gallo. I feel your pain, O'Neal Cruz, all of this other stuff. I was doing this well before you guys with Adam Dunn. I heard it so freaking
My
much,
man.
and I love Adam Dunn. He's one of my favorite players. Well, I still have his jersey. I still wear that jersey everywhere because I loved Adam Dunn. And people talked about, why is he only batting 205? Like, shut up. He's a lot of fun to watch. Like, I tell you.
Yes.
What's great is that like people like as soon as Joey came up and he was doing exactly what he was doing, they're like, oh, he's just another Adam Dunn. I'm like, Adam Dunn was a really great player. What are you talking about?
good.
He was
I
so good.
I would gladly take just Adam Dunn. Honestly.
Yes. I
Drove me nuts.
He was
And,
before his time. If he'd have played nowadays, he'd have made $40 million a year.
Yeah.
I don't
was-
know.
Oh
He finished
my
his
God.
career with what happened?
What is Fox doing with this umpire cam? They're trying to give us like vertigo.
This is Angel Hernandez's dream. He's been waiting for this. Why don't they
this-
put a cam on me every single
Put
time?
a camera on me. Oh,
Star of the show.
also, roundtable.
CB Buckner simulator.
I think we're also behind on each other. I don't think we're all
I think
together.
you are. I'm waiting. All right. Tell me when you see it. Yeah. There you go.
I'm still on the home run derby.
Shohei Ohtani picked off first base by Clayton Kershaw.
Oh my.
Picked
Well,
off
that
of
explains why.
first. Oh my
That
God.
explains why the Angels are so bad because they get on base and then just get picked off at first every time.
Wow. Sell Shohei Ohtani. My column.
DFA Shohei,
Yeah.
obviously.
If you go to
Roundtable
sportscardinvestor.com, that value's gone. Not
Roundtable on these jerseys, by the way. What are the thoughts on the jerseys?
I wish they wore their own team jersey. I
They're
really do.
unimaginative.
I'm with you, Jeff.
Yes, absolutely.
I wish they did that.
It just
Yeah,
looks
they are.
funky to me. Like I like the NL one. I think the white and
Okay.
gold plays off really well, but the AL
Oh, yeah.
ones just look so bad.
No,
Like-
where are your jerseys? Where
It
are your
looks like-
jerseys?
It looks like Vanderbilt jerseys.
Honestly,
It does. It does look like Vanderbilt jerseys.
Julio wouldn't get picked off like that.
Wow.
Ty had to jump. It was
Nice.
awesome to talk some Mariners with him. But yeah, that these jerseys, man. I look at this and I'm like, where are you in jersey? It's funny because we always joke about old takes and old baseball stuff and things like that. There's two things about the All Star Game I wish they brought back: old jersey, just wear your own team jersey, and not every team gets a participant. I hate that. I get it; it's entertainment, but if your team doesn't deserve it, your team doesn't deserve it.
Yeah,
Well,
remember when
David
Jason
Bednar
Castro was
deserves
an
to be
S?
All-Star no matter what.
Remember when Jason Castro was an All-Star and like the absolute worst baseball team in the history of like the 2012 Astros? I was like, okay,
Hey,
Okay,
he was
come
having
on.
a career year. He was
yeah,
having
with
a
like
career year.
with like a 710 OPS and like
Well, but still, that was
No,
his best
no.
year.
yes,
was
that's
his best
fine,
year.
but he's not an All-Star.
Standing O for Kershaw during an All-Star game. We'd love to see it.
Heck yes.
Do you guys remember Tyler Green? Tyler Green
Yes.
was a pitcher for the
Yes.
Phillies in the '90s, and he was had one full season. Not that we look at win-loss records, but it was like 5-6 and an ERA close to 6. And he was an All-Star that year because he had a good first half. And I think he was in the minors the next year, never played a full season.
So,
So
like,
that
Brock Holt.
guy has an All-Star next to him on BaseballReference.com. Kirk Gibson doesn't. Tony Phillips doesn't. Tim Salmon doesn't. But Tyler Green does.
Wait,
And-
Kurt Gibson doesn't?
Kirk
No,
Gibson
why
was never
would-
an All-Star.
Why would
Tim
he be?
Salmon was never an All-Star.
Why would he be? Because we have to penalize players who have good second halves. Thus, my
Okay.
plea to start the season with the All-Star game and use all the complete stats instead of who had the best April and May. Well,
Yeah,
good
but
luck.
then,
So,
but then here's the issue with that is what happens with like Carlos Correa. Like, does he wear a Twins jersey or does he wear?
Yes.
an
He
Astros
wears the Twins jersey. Yes,
Yes.
that'd be great.
Yeah. He
Jeff
wears the New jersey.
Samardzija was traded from the Cubs to the A's when he was chosen as an All-Star. I think he had pitched a game with the A's at that point. He shows up the All-Star game as with his A's uniform on.
Oh,
I like your idea, Sully. I really think that's a great one. Another solution I would say is have like all MLB voting. Like they have all NBA voting, like third team, first team, whatever. Like we don't have that. We have no like who is the best at this position. We have like the Silver Slugger, but that's literally just offense, as opposed to like who was the best at this position at the end of the year. And I think we should have that. Either like all AL, all NL. Like if you want to do all like the same now, because AL and NL are basically the exact same now.
yeah.
Filed under things I should probably know. Do players get bonuses for being on the All-Star team?
Yes.
It
Depends.
Okay.
Some of them,
depends
if
on
it's in their
contract.
if it's in
I'm
their
sure most of
contract,
them
then
do.
yes. But I'm sure like a lot of them have that rider in there.
I do. If I got in,
You
I
do?
got a
Yeah,
bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, Sully.
Bonus.
You've got
To
my
all of
vote,
our
Sully.
listeners, we forgot to mention that the San Francisco Giants took Sully in a draft in the 21st round today.
Yep. I'm holding up.
He signed under slot.
Yeah. I
$20?
signed for some Built Bars, and Built Bars are the best tasting protein bars out there. Have you tried the new graham cracker fudge crunch puff? Or I don't know.
S'mores, Sonny. S'mores.
Now, what I was going to say about this all-star format that I think would be a very fun idea, and I talked about this on my show today, is attributing to what the NHL does in their all-star game, where they have the divisions play with each other. So you have the Metro, the Central, and the West,
Ugh,
like how they
no
do
thanks.
it like that.
No thanks. I don't want to play
Do
with
it
the
with the East, the
Astros.
Central, and the West.
I have an
You
idea.
don't-
You don't want to play with the Astros, but you're already playing with the Astros.
I want to play
Greg, your
against the
response.
Astros.
I have an idea.
Well, I
have
mean,
an
you could
idea.
theoretically do that too, though. I mean, if you wanted to, like, you still would be playing with the. You're going to play with the Astros in any scenario, so just get over
Yeah.
it. But how
No.
cool would it have been to have an East team, and you have an Acuna, Stanton, Judge outfield, and instead of 9-inning games, do the round robin thing, do 3-inning games, like Sully said, where the starter goes out there and actually pitches the whole thing,
I think,
and then every
I think
run
they should-
actually means something.
I
have
think
a
they should do
solution.
the games like they used to do in Hawaii at the all pro football, where they would have them play tug of war and do different crazy games. I mean, come on.
Why is there not a
it's-
skills competition in MLB's
There
All Star
should.
Weekend?
Because they get hurt.
Yeah, I have a solution. All-Star game, but kickball. They play kickball.
Yeah.
All Star game, but
Yes.
softball. They
I
have
like
the
kickball
throw
better.
like they have the throw
Did you
like the
see-
softball
game,
pitcher.
Did you see Hunter Pence almost take that softball out of Dodger Stadium?
Yeah, that was pretty
Softball
gnarly.
game?
And then he ripped and they were booing him, and he
Still got
ripped
it.
his shirt off and had the Giants jersey on. I was like, this is
Oh,
That's
great.
great.
Former Ranger great.
But by skills competition, like I know at the Pro Bowl in the NFL, they have the thing where the quarterbacks throw it into that little circle
Right.
thing when they're doing it. Would it not be cool to see MLB players try to hit it into like a little circle, like Wii Sports?
Or bunting it. Bunting it is a certain thing. The bunting competition. I know we're not allowed to
Yes.
bunt anymore.
Never bunt. They should have a bunting competition about not bunting.
And then each
I mean,
player that gets it in a certain circle gets to take a shot or something.
They should make one of those. I don't know who. Some player with a low batting average. Everyone wants them to bunt against the shift and have them compete in it, and it would be hilarious if they won it.
Am I a
so
bad-
like Joey Gallo.
I was trying not to say his name again, but here we are.
Am I a bad person that bunting for a base hit is one of my favorite plays in baseball?
Yes.
I love bunting for a base hit.
I think
I love it.
Okay, so I think that there's a caveat to the never bunting thing because I'm a never bunter. I don't want everybody to bunt unless you got Joey Gallo up with nobody on the left side of
But
the
That's
didn't
right.
you also have
Bryce,
like one of
your
the
response.
fastest players in all of MLB history?
can't
in Billy
bunt a
Hamilton,
dinger.
Jeff? So you don't want Billy Hamilton going up there in red and bunting the ball.
I want
There are
it. Yeah,
certain
I
guys,
want that.
sure. There are certain guys.
I want
but,
that. I want that.
yeah.
Yes.
Billy Hamilton
But-
is definitely a caveat.
But I
have a
don't
shield,
want
same.
the moving the runners over thing. That no.
I think,
wasting
I
an
think
out.
if we add exit velocity on the bunt as a
Yes.
as a weighable metric and the way to judge a player's ability to bunt. If we're going there, fan graphs, let's do it.
And
How many
exit.
bunt barrels can you get?
I mean,
Did
we
you-
are in
did
the
you-
Statcast era.
Did you notice I said bunting for a base hit? I didn't say bunting the runner over. I said bunting for a base hit is
Oh,
one of
yes.
my favorite plays.
Yes.
Like seeing
All right.
Kenny Lofton videos of him bunting to get on base was so fun.
Otis Nixon was amazing doing
Ricky
that when he
Henderson.
would do it. Ricky, Vince Coleman doing that.
Didn't Willie McGee do it a lot?
Willie McGee did it a lot, and I think with a lot of the shifts, I would love to see. I don't want to see freaking Giancarlo Stanton laying one down. But if you got a guy with decent speed, and he sees, they're shifted a little bit over there, I'm just going to bunt it down there. What I love in baseball is chaos. I love chaos.
Well,
speaking of chaos,
we have another to add to our midst. He is a fan of a team that has been even more, how shall we say, Jekyll and Hyde than the Seattle Mariners.
Uh-oh.
He is Connor Thomas.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Wow.
Yes,
How's
sir.
it going, man?
PA has officially outnumbered everybody in this group. We are very happy. Also, speaking of chaos, I didn't think that's what you were referencing, Jeff, but Acuna almost had a triple there if the ball boy doesn't go and stop the ball for a double. They both
ball boy. Speaking of bunting, last year I believe Yordan Alvarez was in a slump, and he asked his dad what he should do. His dad said, "Bunt. If you can't get on by hitting, bunt." And he bunted against the shift, and he got on base. And nobody expected Yordan Alvarez to bunt, like the last person on the planet, and he did it.
Right. Well, I tell you what, we've done a little bit of AL West talk, and we don't have any other NL East folks to come in here and do some trash talk with us. I was kind of hoping to get Ryan.
I will take over as the Mets so that I can trash talk.
No, you don't get the Mets. You don't get the Mets. They're representative not here. Doesn't count.
Nobody gets to pick the Mets.
Hey, I'll pick the Nationals.
Actually, I'll pick the Braves. I was in Atlanta this weekend, so I guess by proxy that kind of
Wow,
counts.
you were in Georgia and didn't even come see me, Bryce? Appreciate it, man.
No,
Thanks.
I was busy.
We're going to see...
How dare a Crimson Tide fan come to Georgia?
As the National League takes a lead on Shane McClanahan.
Would have never happened if Martin Perez started.
Well, there you go. Connor, we got the chance to talk with Seattle, and I didn't set this up willingly as if like it's where all of the Reds from last year went to all these team-ins. That's who I'm talking to. But as the current team that has Nick Castellanos in the lineup,
do they? Because I haven't seen much from him. Is he there?
Had a good year, has he? Yeah,
if you see him, let me know, because we've been looking for him since early June.
It's a bummer. But what about, let's start with this. Schwarber last night. Did he fall on a sword for Albert Pujols?
No,
it kind of looked that way, right? It was weird how he came out, and then, now here's the thing, with the time limit, if it's number of outs tying a guy perfectly and going to a swing off is like a little bit more believable to me. With the time limit, it's kind of hard to time that up. How do you guys, I want to pull the room a little bit too. How are you guys feeling about like the miscounting of the home runs? Did they?
Yeah, there's a literal.
They did. It was rigged.
Like, we got like a Baseball Zapruder film of if the home run derby was
tied it up.
What is going on?
Are we really going to go climbing over ourselves over the home run freaking derby? It's just fun.
Yes, we are.
It's fun.
No, but ESPN clearly miscounted. It was obvious. I went back and watched it, and it was pretty
oh my god,
obvious.
What a freaking play, dude.
It was.
Was that Jimenez and Anderson?
I mean, he got 20 home runs. Swing off with the old man, Albert Pujols. I'm just saying, it's not a big deal. But he got screwed.
Look, I watched the first 7 swings of Albert Pujols where he let 6 pitches go by, or it was probably like just 2, and then hit 5 balls to the warning track, or not even the warning track. And then I got off and just recorded my episode for them. I'm like, this is going to be so boring. I'll get back on when it's the finals.
Well, I thought Albert Pujols needed Brad Lidge on the mound, because the last Albert Pujols home run I remember was I was there in person.
Too soon.
Crushed our souls.
Well, and that thing with the home run derby I think is very underrated about it is whoever your pitcher is means a lot. Like Soto and Rodriguez. Yeah, they were doing good. And I was so it was always funny. Everybody was getting on him. He's like, why does he keep asking to push the mound back? It's so he could see the ball. I mean, it was. I mean, I didn't mind it at all.
I would love it if one of the hitters said, I want to roll this Chapman. But just put a Roldis Chapman in there, because I know I'm going to hit a ton of home runs.
NL Central represent, baby!
Where's Lucas and JD? They're supposed to be joining. They're going to go crazy. Paul
Goldie!
Very possibly the NL MVP. Oh, my gosh.
Wait, a Cardinals player scored a run? We didn't see a lot of that when we were out there.
So, thanks for joining us, man.
Have fun, you all.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sully.
Man. Thanks
Cheers,
for
Love you,
joining us.
Sully.
Well, that
Man.
geez, then that was a rocket too.
Yeah,
So my
Did he get asked
just-
to participate in the Derby?
yeah.
My goodness. That's
So
literally
my
right down
feed,
Broadway.
Jeff, when I left and came back, my feed just now showed up on my channel. So I've got some, hopefully, I had about 10 or 11 people sitting there waiting, going, hey, where is the show? So hopefully we'll start seeing some Astros traffic come into. I know Bryce has some kind word for the Astros fan.
I'm gonna have to hop out.
Nationals legend Trey Turner.
Oh,
But I
yes.
say, and coming back kind of a little bit to the NL
Yeah.
East talk as, oh my goodness. Maybe Martin Perez should have started.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
We'll come back to the NL East talk because I was looking at the standings as we go into the All-Star break, and the once looking undefeatable New York Mets are only 2 wins ahead of the Braves, which really, sitting there in Philly, you got to look at that and say, not that far off either. Like, is it just the wild card at this point, or do you think the East is assailable?
It kind of feels like just the wild card. With Bryce Harper, you can talk about the East. But, man, missing
that's
him for another month or so, however long it's going to be, the wild card is really the focus. And, hey, we haven't made the playoffs for over a decade at this point. So, any way you get in, I'm not trying to be greedy. That's kind of how this fan base feels a little bit. And a lot of people have resigned themselves, not just to the wild card, the third wild card spot, because chasing down the Braves is going to be difficult. Chasing down the Padres is going to be difficult there. But an easy schedule for the Phils. So hopefully we'll be in at least the wild card spot. The division, though, that's the Mets and the Braves duking it out. And maybe something crazy will happen.
Was
Was
Cliff
it
Lee on the last team in the playoffs for the Phillies?
Yeah, he was.
I remember the last team well, as a Mets fan.
Yeah, sorry about that. It didn't go much better for us in the next round. But, yeah, that first game was fun for us, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh! Rest in
I
peace,
will also
Roy.
go out
Rest
on
in-
a obvious point here and say the Contreras brothers starting the All Star game together is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Probably
did
the
love
coolest
that.
part of this game.
Certainly.
Yeah, I love the fact
Yeah.
because
That's cool. I saw that.
like seeing them both in the starting lineup as well. Like, I mean, they both had amazing first halves. That's not saying that they were just, given starting spots so that they could be there. But the fact that they've had such a great first half and they get recognized that way, I mean, they probably only dreamed of something like that as kids. And here you are right there on Dodger, right there in Chavez Ravine getting to do it.
Also,
So,
are
hey,
Rays
I've got a
fans like
question,
shaking right now?
Yes.
Yes.
I've got a
Both,
question
yes.
for. I've got a question for Ethan. What players are there players in the Pirates organization right now that you would want to see them trade and get a good return on? Like, are there players that you guys could trade and actually benefit from trading, or do you like what you have? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know you guys are where you are, but what are the players you see on your team? Because I know the Astros, and I assume that I don't know if the Phillies are in the market for the trade deadline, but I
Ryan
assume
Reynolds looks awfully nice right now.
Okay, well, I mean, I think there's a lot of contending teams out there, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. If you guys have anybody that you think would get you guys something in return.
Nothing major, no. Jose Quintana is probably the most realistic trade chip that's going to get you anything back, and he's on an expiring deal. You maybe trade Ben Gamble or Marisnik. You maybe trade Kevin Newman. You maybe trade Vogelbach, but they've already pretty much said Reynolds and Bednar aren't going anywhere. So that's the crazy part of like what has been asked about Reynolds is last year, if you remember, they were asking for 2 top 100 prospects for Reynolds. Now you see Soto on the trade market, and everybody's like, wow, why is this price so high? I'm like, because Brian Reynolds' price was also astronomically high, and I'm a Pirates fan, but Brian Reynolds isn't exactly Juan Soto. He's not a pushover, but he's not exactly Juan Soto. But I think the Pirates are, and Jeff has talked about this, that he thinks next year is our fun year, where he thinks that the Pirates are going to be like in the mix. So I think we have just enough talent now to kind of say, all right, let's hold off on the trade button and like not blow everything up again. But it is also the Pirates. So if I wake up one day and see Brian Reynolds got traded to the Phillies for Mark Appel and like 2 prospects, it wouldn't surprise me.
Best
But-
we could do is Mickey Moniak.
Mickey Moniak? Yeah.
That's what
Oh,
you do.
wow.
A hard
Well,
stop
Phillies
there.
fans clearly. I don't even. This is actually a question for you, Connor, because I don't get to talk to you that much or Phillies fans that much. But what is the deal with Alec Bohm? Do Philly fans like him or do they hate him? I never know. Like it, I never know. I really don't.
It
It's like
depends
1
on
minute he's
day.
the best player ever.
Yeah, that's kind of the Philadelphia sports fandom. It's really depends on the day. It's day to day.
Yeah,
Here,
trust
so.
me. I know about Philly sports enough to know
Yeah.
that it depends on the day. Looking at you,
Overall,
locked
though.
on 76ers.
Yeah. Overall, though, I'd say he's become a likable person in this locker room for this team, partially because of the whole incident earlier where he was caught mouthing that he hates this place, like very early in the season, and then kind of owning up to it after the game brought him some favor with the fan base, believe it or not. And he's actually been pretty productive for them. He's gone back to the 2020 type of Alec Bohm that almost won him NL Rookie of the Year, which is just a clutch hitter. Not a lot of power still, but he's had some clutch hits, and those guys need to carry more of the weight with Bryce Harper and Jeet Segura out, and he's been doing part of that. So, yeah, relatively on the likable side right now.
Well, see, I think in Philly, y'all just have a different way of showing love. I mean, y'all want Santa to bring you presents every year, but you still throw batteries at him. I mean, so love is a different
shot.
way.
Cheap
It's
shot.
just a different way of loving things. It's called tough love, right? It's like the Philadelphia way, right?
Well,
I
H-
appreciate you
that's
making that joke before I could, as the Cowboys fan in the room.
Well, H-Town, if you knew about the Philadelphia Flyers and the circus that is, you wouldn't blame Philly fans for taking out their anger on other teams.
really.
Yeah, that's not fun right now. Not a good time to be a hockey fan here, but luckily I'm only a baseball guy.
there you go.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
What are we doing here? This is
It's
not locked
okay.
on NHL.
Get out!
Put
Get
this
out
in
of
the
here!
cup,
Get
really?
out of!
Let's-
Wait, you gonna bring in
bring
some
it back.
Clipper stuff now?
Maybe.
Would you
Hey,
drive
Luka-
to
has
the
Luka-
on Saturdays?
I'm gonna turn this into Around the Horn. I'm just gonna start muting people. No.
Wow, I got
Do
the
you have
mute
the
button
capability?
placed on me, baby. Let's go.
We got Sandy Alcantara on the mound. That I think this is going to be a nice clean inning. This dude, honestly, he was the biggest argument as to who should have started the game if you were just going by first half performance. But the story of Clayton Kershaw and Chavez Ravine and all this other stuff, there's obviously not much of an argument there. But who else has been better than Alcantara on the mound this year? He has been phenomenal.
Well, he wouldn't have
yeah.
shown it in that first inning, but McClanahan's been pretty.
Yeah, he
been
has
pretty.
been too.
Yeah, I think McClanahan in the AL is the only other true contender for the Cy Young outside of Justin Verlander. I think they're clearly 1 and 2 or 1 and 1A, and you could put one on
Martin
top of the other.
Perez, for real, he really has been that good. He hasn't been quite the same since May, but like he is still should be in that conversation. Should get some votes in that conveation because he has been
definitely.
so good and so consistent. I mean, you saw it firsthand with that incredible game. Like one of my favorite Ranger games of all regular season games was that game in Houston where he had that complete game shutout and dedicated it to Tony Beasley, third base coach, who had just been officially declared cancer free. Just really emotional moment, really great game. And the fact that he had runners on base with the last out, and Woody comes out there and says, "Hey, you got this," and lets him stay in there to get the complete game shutout was just really great moment.
No, yeah, he's always pitched us tough, and whenever he's on the mound, we're like, okay, we're, hopefully he can be at some pitch limit in the 5th inning so we can get some runs. So he's been a guy that whenever trade deadlines come up, we're like, hey, I was like, why don't they look at Perez? You know what I'm saying? Because he's
not
very
going
good.
anywhere.
Well, no, that's the kind of pitcher he is. He's a rival that you want on your side of the plate. You don't want to face.
It's okay. You guys already have Paul Blackburn ready for you.
We do. We are. I saw
already
that
chartering the guy.
a little freaking tampering. That was awesome. I was like, yes. And I was. I didn't do it, but I was going to tweet out the Astros have agreed to bring Luis Castillo through Houston on their private jet and fly him back to Cincinnati fly a couple Astros players back,
And this is where the Paul Blackburn story really kind of made me laugh a little bit because not necessarily of what the A's did to him, but I'm pretty sure Luis Castillo had to drive to LA because the Reds are reallocating payroll to resources.
They're also busy finally building an indoor facility for their football team in Cincinnati. So
I always love that. It's such a weird. It's like a weird thing that they have that they still haven't built one. It's like, why? You're in Ohio. Like, build an indoor facility already. I tell you what. Before we continue on this thought process, we have us another guest. He's joining in from the NL West. So we're gonna have 3 West and 3 not West folks as Hobby Reyes was in the bullpen. Now he's not in the bullpen. He'll be back. So
just like
coming.
the Padres, he disappears after he's doing
There
good.
we go. Oh yeah, and we got the hot take from Ethan on the way in.
Sorry, my bad.
Man.
I thought you were going to give him the AJ Hinch Garrett Cole treatment, like warm up and then sit down. Sorry,
I love Frozen Hobby.
I think his internet.
Frozen Hobby is the best.
He's in there somewhere.
Yeah, he's in there
All right,
somewhere.
We'll see if we can get him back. But
That's the Joe Girardi. You go to the bullpen, the guy's not actually on the roster for the day. You guys remember that one?
Also, if my eyes
serious?
didn't deceive me, if you guys want to know the state of the Pirates and the Reds here, I have a regular Baja Blast in my hand. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mr. Jeff Carr over there has a... Oh, is that not the hard one?
No, it's 0.
Oh,
Zero
okay.
sugar.
Sorry. Well, 0 for other things. But what are the playoff chances for the Reds right now, if I don't mind you asking? Or
Is it 0?
answering? 0. Okay.
Mountain Dew 0. And probably for next year as well. Just because, I mean, they were that close. They were right there. And they're like, nah, we're not going to bring back Castellanos. That costs money. Nah, we're not going to keep the guys we have on the roster, like Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez and Wade Miley and Tucker Barnhart, and we're just going to give those. And Sonny Gray. Now I like some of the prospects they got back, but they weren't they weren't entering a rebuild. They just entered their window of contention. And they just slammed that window shut. They're like, nah, we don't want to pay for that.
Hey, at least you have Hunter Green.
Yeah.
Now, what about Tyler Mallet?
He's definitely available. Yeah.
I mean, but is he up? Is he down? I haven't really followed him since he's come onto the scene. I followed him like as a prospect, but I don't really know much about him. Like what's the read on him?
He is inconsistent, but when he is good, he is good. He almost had a no-hitter earlier this year. I think it was against the Cubs, if I remember right. But he pitches phenomenally well when he's got all of his pitches working. The biggest issue is if his slider is just a waste pitch that day, that means he's going to have a tough day. Because when he's off, he's going full count with just about everybody on the other lineup as they step into the batter's box. Because he will be that guy, too. He'll start a guy off with strike 1, strike 2, and you're like, here we go. Then he tries to become Rembrandt and paint the corners, and he's throwing ball after ball after ball, and he's walking guys. He's giving up hits because he has to throw an obvious strike. I love him, and I think that if he gets with maybe a little bit of change of scenery, a different pitching coach, maybe they can create that consistency. But there's just, it feels like you almost flip a coin because, like I said, when he's good, Malley, the Reds can win, even with the lineup that they have. But bad Malley's not going to help you. So I think that I probably the biggest thing with him is combining him with Brandon Drury and really turning that into a huge trade package there for the Reds. But
Bad Malley, a.k.a. Bally.
Bally Sports.
Bryce.
Yeah, exactly.
Alec
I'll tell you.
Manoah.
But is Manoah pitching now? Because my feed went out on my TV, so I'm not even watching it.
Yeah.
Manoah
was
versus
Contreras, number 2.
Our esteemed Lindsay Crosby's comp to Kumar Rocker Bryce was Alec Manoah. Now that's the 100 percentile, like if everything goes right, but you know.
So 100% guaranteed he's going to be that. Is what you mean?
or 100%. Or 75.543.2% that he's going to be right-handed Aroldis Chapman.
Ooh.
There's that too.
Hey,
and
I
I
like
don't see it in
Aroldis
between.
I
mean, I'm not
Chapman.
saying
love
it's
it.
bad. I'm not
I
saying
miss
it's
him.
bad if he's right-handed Aroldis Chapman, but
I know that is like the just coldest of takes when it comes to Yankees fans, but I love Chappie. I miss him. He pitched against the Reds in the series with which the Reds won 2 out of 3, by the way. But,
Oh yeah,
Great
death
series.
That was
taxes,
phenomenal.
death taxes, and the
And-
Pirates and Reds handling the Yankees.
he must have been listening. His ears must have been burning because we talked about a comp that he had because he's on the mound right now, Alek Manoah. So we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Lindsay Crosby joins the
There he
show.
is.
Hey, there he is.
Hey, folks, it's my
This
my
guy-
favorite host, San Connor.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Not to be confused with awesome violinist Lindsey Sterling. It is Lindsay Crosby.
Oh,
Not
wow.
the other Lindsay that I get. Bing Crosby's youngest son was Lindsay, so that's the one I usually get. Yeah.
Well, and the fact that his handle is Crosby Baseball, which is my high school alma mater, and I joked with him the first time we had a show. I said, "I think you're like copyright infringing on Crosby Baseball."
It's
God,
their bad
it's
for
just-
not snagging that first.
Is this going to be the All-Star game where all the pitchers just like dominate, except McClanahan?
That's
Angel
baseball.
Hernandez is behind the plate, right?
Yes.
Is
Yeah,
he?
'cause that was not a strike.
No, I didn't even know.
Now, do they,
That was not a. I love how you had to ask first. You're like, wait.
Yeah,
is he
that was
really?
not right.
Is he really
Yeah,
umpiring?
he's
He's
got
wearing,
the
a, he's
ultimate
wearing a
felt bad.
camera.
yeah, he has the. That's what I was talking about earlier with the cam. It's hilarious.
They felt bad because they didn't let him do the playoffs a couple of years ago.
No, he's such a whiner, that guy. So, Lindsay, you've been working overtime, brother. Hey, man, I've
Still
got
working.
Busy man.
I've got Jeff coming on. I'm doing a show covering I think 3 through 6 and 7 through 10 picks tonight. And that little quick hit we did, man, crushed it. You did a great job. Thank you for helping me with that.
Thanks. It's this is the you love all the stuff to talk about, but at the same time, it's a lot to talk about. I'm working on the next 2 shows, and it's like, hey, cool. If I want to talk about every team in 2 shows, I get 2 minutes per team to talk about you drafted 20 players. There's 616 picks. And I'm like, oh, man, I could talk about this thing for weeks and never be done, you know? Like, Bryce, what your Rangers did. The Rocker-Porter combo. I mean, just setting that up at the very beginning. And wild.
It was not. I'm still gonna like whine and moan a little bit, but like I know what they did. It wasn't my ideal strategy, but I can still see like that was they big brained me. I mean they faked me out real hard, and like I was a whiny emotional mess on Sunday night. But I'm much happier today than I was 2 days ago.
Is that Angel Hernandez? I don't think that had the cam going while he got smacked in the face by a foul ball. So that was
Nice.
interesting.
That's good content right there.
And they're right back to it again.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it.
White
So hey, Lindsay, one of the things I noticed about the Astros is they didn't draft any high school pitching prospects. They've had their fair share of issues with those. And I noticed they picked a lot of really tall. They got a 6'6" catcher. I mean, this kid's huge.
O'Neal Cruz has unlocked a lot of doors as far as what you can do height-wise. A lot of height, like unusually short and tall guys went this draft. There was a 7-foot pitcher, and I think the 18th round today. There was also a 5'10" pitcher that went late yesterday, a 5'10" righty. It's like 5'10", 210. Like he's Alejandro Kirk, but on the mound.
Oh, so he's Bartolo Colon.
nice.
He's essentially Bartolo. Bartolo Colon was taller, though. Remember the shot of him and Pujols together? Bartolo, I think, wasn't he like 6'3", 6'4"?
I think
He was over 6 foot.
But like teams have been willing to go outside the models a little bit to get the unusual guys. I think maybe it's because of the models. They're getting them despite the scouts not liking them because the models are like, well, spin rate's really good, or he's really good at this or that. So it's been amazing.
There's a quote that I just saw from Rob Manfred about, I know what we were talking about earlier, about All-Stars wearing their own team jerseys. He
not the quote I
praised
thought
Nike and said, quote, "I never thought that a baseball team wearing different jerseys in a game was a particularly appealing look for us," end quote. Man, he's
don't wanna
really
get
0
in-
for today.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble here, but Rob Manfred has said some dumb things today.
Yeah.
Said some
Rob's
very stupid
been-
things today.
It's been a day
that guy.
for Manfred Hates Baseball. My goodness. Like,
Yeah, he needs Scott Boras over his shoulder watching what he's saying.
Yeah.
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 He
I
needs
mean,
Scott Boras to
he's
just
like
write him a
a-
script.
He's
I
like
reject
a really,
the premise that they are not paid a living wage. I'm like, well, you can reject it all you want. It's still true.
well.
I
the
reject that
same
4 is
guy-
bigger than 3. Okay, Rob. Like, you're still wrong.
Well, I'm convinced the same guy that writes his speeches is the guy that wrote the initial speech when Altuve and Bregman were forced to say something about 2017, and it was very awkward, and it looked very insincere, and they got absolutely blasted for that. I'm like, there's some evil troll in MLB that has some demonic power over Rob Manfred in these certain things that these people say this stuff, and you're like, you got to be kidding me! Like, this is not even for real, you know?
I think the evil troll is Rob Manfred.
No, he has,
I mean,
he has a,
I
he has a
understand
bad
the
Rob
commission.
Manfred on his shoulder, and then like another worse Rob Manfred on his shoulder. As opposed
Bad
to
worse.
That-
I understand the concept of the commissioner. Same thing in the NFL. Like your job is to take all the criticism so that the owners don't take the criticism. Like we're yelling at Rob Manfred for talking about because of the minor league salary thing, so that we don't yell at Dick Monfort for the minor league salary thing. But like
We should
you
yell
just
at all
make
of
it
them.
so much worse every time you open your mouth. The hunk of metal thing, the reject the premise they're not paid a living wage, the jersey, like every time you say something, it makes it worse, and it's an amazing ability to just ruin things.
Well, and the whole idea of I reject the premise they're not paid a living wage. Like, did he have to sound like Lex Luthor when he said that? Like that's what I heard whenever I
And-
He's
read
like,
that.
that's not your truth. That's my truth.
And he rejects the premise because there were one is he's like, if you ignore the signing bonuses that many of them get, it's like, yeah, but many of them don't get much. He's like, they've received housing. It's like, they've not received housing. Many of them have received a bedroom. Like
Right.
they're sharing rooms with people still, especially the lower affiliates. And like if you reject
Now,
the
I
premise
do-
they're not paid a living
right.
wage, why did I interview somebody on my show that has an organization called Adopt a Minor Leaguer that tries to get food for them?
Right. Now I do know that Jim Crane did that for the Astros minor leaguers before Major League Baseball made that move, which was really cool. And
That's the
every
one
of
thing
the
that I
minor-
will genuinely applaud the Astros for. Is like that was a really great, genuinely good thing that like helped move
Well, you know,
everybody forward.
We provide minor leaguers housing. We provide rides to All Star games for potential free agents. I mean, no trash
That's the
cans were
thing, like,
harmed.
Well, we don't know that.
They should-
Allegedly,
are the
I
allegedly,
feel
no
like we have
trash
to
cans
wrap
were
up
harmed.
on that. That was brilliant.
Are the Astros just basically Motel 6? We'll leave the light on for you. Like, is that
yes,
is that
Tom,
is
yes. Tom Bodette owns the Astros. He goes by Jim Crane, but his name's Tom Bodette.
Just make
I
sure you
am-
leave the shirt on for him too if you hit a walk off.
To ruin the mood on some of this, there are still teams. Here's the thing: the Astros are one of, I believe I'm looking at now, 13 teams that do not provide each player their own bedroom at every affiliate. High A and single A teams, the players are still sharing bedrooms with other players.
Oh,
It's
really?
not until you reach Double A that you are guaranteed to have your
Even
own
the Astros?
bedroom. Even the Astros.
so is that
Yeah,
like
really.
the equivalent of my studio apartment, but there would be another person here?
It's like
It's like a
in
dorm.
essence, yeah. It's like a
That's-
dorm setup.
It's
Dude,
like in
that's
college where
not
we had
okay.
2 desks and we put one bed on top of the 2 desks and we
Yeah.
made a de facto
To,
bunk bed.
to be
Now,
fair,
everybody-
it is
I'm sorry.
bad. It is bad, but it is also progress, which
It is
I
progress.
feel like should be like acknowledged, but not necessarily
Yes.
applauded because it should be going further. Because I mean, there used to be like 6 guys to like a 2-bedroom apartment. Like it used to be even worse than it was.
Guys sleeping
and,
in
like,
their cars.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was a guy, Yohel Pozo, who was a Rangers minor league free agent, who literally lived in his car for like 2 months because he was a minor league free agent and like didn't know, like he had no like prospects. He wasn't sure what the heck was going to go on and like all kinds. Like it was a really dramatic and like heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
But like, and he's just one of like 800 guys that all have very similar stories.
Yeah, there
I
are
tell you-
4 teams that still do not pay their players an extended spring training, and I will name names if you want me to. Like
Do
we
it.
have places to go.
Well,
still.
I say this.
I can't name
Wins.
names because one of them's here.
Go ahead and say.
Who is it?
What is
Hey.
it, Survivor?
Who is it?
Somebody will be voted off tonight.
That's a team.
Find out
That's a
at
team.
9 Eastern time.
The Marlins, the Brewers, the Athletics, and the Reds do not pay their minor leaguers in extended spring training as of July 1st. It may
It's
have
a lot
changed
of NL
since then.
Central.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. I tell you what, though, we are going to have to end up on that. I want to do something real quick before we close out because it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Want to kind of give everybody the floor just for a few seconds. Tell me what you got going on. And we're going to start with the man himself who's been busier than everybody else. Lindsay, what you got going on?
Busy time at Locked On MLB Prospects. Right now, we are getting ready to drop American League and National League draft recaps. We are hopping on a bunch of shows to talk about some of our favorite drafts. Talking to the Rockies. I'm going to talk to the Rangers. He doesn't know that yet. We're talking to the Rays. We're talking to the Diamondbacks. I think that might be the best outfield in baseball in a couple years. So I'm on Twitter at Crosby Baseball. The show's on Twitter at Locked On Farm. You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, just look for Locked On MLB Prospects.
And he's the man who's got a team that's surging and a real good shot at a wild card spot in the AL East. Connor, what's going on in Locked On Phillies?
A lot of stuff with Locked On Phillies. We're doing a review of one of the weirder first halves of a Phillies season ever. A fired manager, a hurt superstar, a resurgent bullpen, all of that good stuff to review the first half. A look at the trade deadline. We haven't really seen Dave Dombrowski in a truly buyer's set when it comes to the trade deadline here in Philadelphia, and he's ready to do that now. How much faith should we have in him? All that leading up to the deadline is going to be some good stuff to keep us occupied on Locked On Phillies and a wild card chase. A lot of great stuff coming up.
I've always been jealous of those baby blue uniforms. The Reds just, well,
They're beautiful, man.
we don't have any. And let's move on over to the West because they're looking up right now at the New York Yankees, but I think the Yankees are also looking over their shoulders. What's Locked On Astros coming up, Brett?
Yeah, the Astros go into the playoffs somewhat, maligned with injuries, with Jordan, with Altuve, waiting for McCullers to come back. But the big question remains for the second half is what moves will the Astros make, or do they feel like they are in a place to stand pat? Remember, they played 9 straight games against both the Mets and the Yankees and never were behind in a single inning against the Yankees. They lost 2 walk-offs by Aaron Judge. They went 7-2. The Mariners, they play 7 of the first 10 games coming out of the All-Star break. Not to mention, thank you, MLB Baseball, for giving us a doubleheader against the Yankees right after the All-Star break, hoping to sweep that. But the Astros have their work cut out for them. I don't foresee them giving up the lead to the Mariners. The Mariners can't win out the rest of the season. I don't believe that, but they are a very good team. A lot of respectable competition in the second half. And so follow the show at Locked On Astros on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow me at HTL Wheelhouse on Twitter and Instagram. And remember, we're your team every day. We're always positive, always Stros.
And the Astros are going to be quite busy. I'm wondering if Luis Castillo is going to head down to Houston, but that's another conversation for another day. Speaking of Texas and baseball, and there's this one team that spent a lot of money this offseason, but we're trying to figure out where they are. Bryce, what do you got coming for us as the trade deadline looms?
So the Rangers are in a super weird place right now. I mean, they're coming off one of the most intriguing drafts. It might end up being a really, really great draft. I'll have to talk with Lindsay Crosby to figure out how great a draft this is. The Rangers are trying to figure out if they're buyers or sellers. Corey Seager is coming off an incredibly hot week, won AL Player of the Week honors. He and Marcus Semien, after a slow start, have started to figure out and look like the perennial all-stars the Rangers signed them to be. Can Martin Perez continue on his great first half? Can Adolis Garcia continue on his great first half and kind of figure out if he is a full season player or a guy who only has 2 hot months and then falls off a cliff? Really interesting time to be a Rangers fan and really interesting time to listen to Locked On Rangers, as is, any time.
Speaking of an interesting time to be a fan of a team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They look like they're coming out of the doldrums. They look like they've got some exciting young players. The rest of this season's really just going to be figuring out what they got. But kind of like you said, Ethan, you don't think they're going to be that busy this trade deadline season. So what do you got going on for Locked On Pirates?
Going to be recapping the first half where They had the most players be on the 40-man, I think, in a long time for the Pittsburgh Pirates. It might have been an MLB record. Going to take a look at the second half, take a look at the Miami Marlins series that we have. I'll probably have Peter back on the show again this week, as well as talking trade deadline. I mean, there's pieces, but not as big as you would think as it was the past couple years. And I will even quote Jeff Carr and say he thinks my team will be fun next year. So hopefully we just get to 2023 sooner rather than later.
I do firmly believe the Pirates will be fun, and what else is going to be fun is the Reds trade deadline. They're going to be active sellers. I hope. They should be. If they're smart, they will be. And we'll be talking about all of that at Locked On Reds. Thank you so much for watching along with us, for enjoying our conversation. Hopefully you enjoyed our conversation. This is something we're going to do a little bit more often during the second half of the season, just kind of hang out and watch some baseball. But for now, we're going to be signing off. The Locked On MLB Hangout for the All Star Game.